Hello everyone. We wanted to come to you today and make this video because as we know, there are so many changes happening in the world today and they're all happening so fast. The stock market, we've seen ups and downs and highs and lows faster than we really have seen in all of history. And we're also seeing the business landscape change dramatically. The unemployment numbers have just come out and there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. And so we want to make this video to talk about what are the opportunities that we see in this type of marketplace that we're experiencing, and also what are the things that we can avoid, some of the defensive actions that we can take that can really help as we move forward into whatever this new environment is. I think we all agree that this is going to be a very different place than what we're used to experiencing in the business world and also the market. So I want to start with cash flow. I think cash flow is so important because, as we all know, cash flow is the lifeblood of the business. It's the oxygen. And so, if we don't have oxygen, this is really the start of everything for us in business. So, what are some of the things on the defensive side that we need to do with our cash flow during this time period?
Yes, the cash flow side. Well, first of all, I would like you to consider starting at home and reconsider the expenses that you have so you can control costs. Because too often businesses get in trouble because there are needs at home that require extra money when they shouldn't have. So we don't want to strip the company of money here unnecessarily. So get things under control at home. Secondly, get clarity on your cash reserves at work and understand what you have. Check your lines of credit to find out what's available there. And then also consider going back and talking to the banks about being able to extend payments or eliminate or extend payments out, reduce interest, do anything and ask for anything that the bank is willing to do. And we found so far that a number of the banks have been willing to extend an opportunity not to make any payments for 3 months without interest, that sort of a thing. So check with your bank and find out what they're willing to do for you. Also, too, we think it's probably helpful for you to do maybe a 13-week rolling forecast of cash so that you can keep up with your cash flow and keep the business alive. Next, I would consider negotiating potentially with any suppliers that are providing materials to you and your company and see whether or not they'd be willing to give you better terms, skip a month payment or two. And a lot of our clients have been able to get those things done because they have long-term relationships. We tend to deal with people that are really good and honorable and have integrity, and so they have super credit histories and things like that. So when it's time to go back and ask for some help and you've had a history of being really responsible, then your banks and your suppliers and such are willing to step up and help you. So all of those things you did in the past that was right, that is going to come home to you now to pay. And then the last thing I would say to consider here has to do with communication with your team members. It's real important that you talk to them about what's going on. Some of them, are potentially going to be let go, and you have to do what you have to do to save, mothership, if you will, so that there's a future for your family and for everybody else going forward. That is super important to you. This is the point in time, too, where you find out that the people that have acted like owners over the course of the previous years, those people you do not want to lose.
Sure.
Right? But the people that are they're 9-to-5ers and they're thinking about themselves all the time, this is an opportunity, unfortunately, for many of them to get cut.
Yeah, I think moving on to the opportunity section, I think that's really important when we talk about employees. How can we use this as an opportunity to grow our own employees? I think a lot of employees are at home now and we have a lot more time. Depending on what industry you're in, some of these employees are going to have a lot more time on their hands. So when we talk about opportunities, especially with employees, we want to use this time to train them, to grow them. The A players that you've kept on your team during this time, we want to make sure that you're capitalizing on getting the most you possibly can from these A team players, because this is when it's really going to matter the most. So let's move to the opportunities. So opportunities, I want to talk about opportunities to retool your business. So how can we think about retooling our business in this environment? How can we think in terms of offense versus think in terms of defense?
Well, there's always somebody that thrives in difficult times. And so we can learn from them. It's not a bad idea to study some of those, but looking at this with a fresh set of eyes is a really important piece to understand what the possibilities are, not be stuck in the fear mode,
Right.
but in a planning mode and an execution mode. So going back and looking at, for instance, your customers, sometimes when we're in really good times, we take customers or clients that really aren't really good fits for us. And so we end up spending an inordinate amount of time and money trying to accommodate them. This would be a super good time to cut that list to the extent that it makes you more profitable, and especially if you have fewer team members, as a result of some layoffs or something.
Right.
Secondly, look at your employees again. Your employees, it's an opportunity for you to train them, to mentor them, to put into place processes and procedures that you should have implemented, but you were too busy to do it. I mean, we have a number of our people that are talking about that and working on those things. So processes, procedures, bringing in software potentially that you were going to add, but you didn't have time. So there's a lot of good things. Don't waste this time. That's a really important piece of this. Don't waste your time sitting around biting your fingernails and worrying about the future. Do what you can do and think and pray and ask for wisdom from the good Lord, because you're going to need it and you can use it. So those are super important things for me.
Yeah, and I think really focusing on the opportunities for growth. I love the idea that if you only focus on cutting, then you can't grow. And I think in this time, we've all focused on looking at our businesses. What can we cut? What expenses can we cut? Do we need to fire employees? And while that's all really important in the beginning stages, if that's all we spend our time on during this time period that we're in, then we'll never be able to grow our business. So look at, what are your customers that you can reach out to and solidify those relationships? Are there things your customers need from you more than they did before? We have a coaching client who has reached out to his coaching clients and asked them, is there anything I can do to help you? And he's actually gotten more work out of this time period than less, because his customers are really needing him in this moment. So what are some relationships that you can grow, that you can reach out? I think this is going to be such an important time to solidify who are the players and the clients and the employees that you want going forward, and how can you strengthen those relationships. Also talking about marketing. Marketing has actually gotten a lot cheaper during this time. Ads, spaces that used to be really, really expensive because all the markets were really good are now a lot cheaper. And so what are those marketing opportunities? If you have done the defensive work in cutting and maintaining your cash flow and making sure that you have money in the bank, how can you use that for this time of outthinking your competition, out marketing them? What are the areas in which you can take market space during this time because you're ready, willing, and able, and to take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, somebody's going to be thriving in this market. And people that have money are going to have money through this difficult time too.
Sure.
So understand who has the ability to pay and wants the services or the products that you do, and go after those people and build relationships with them. And of course, if you have those relationships ahead of time, this is a great time to just to be personal,
Sure.
and understand and check in with them at a personal level and a family level, and that sort of thing. Showing care for them pays big dividends in the future. So.
Well, is there anything else you want to add before we finish this video? As always, we're open for questions, comments. We love dialogue with all of our clients, and even you. If you need help, please let us know. But is there anything else you want to add before we finish?
Yeah, I was just going to say this is also a good time potentially for you to be looking to hire key employees. So on the sharp kind of side of the business world, because there's going to be a lot of layoffs and employees are going to be fearful.
Sure.
They may be willing to jump ship, and somebody you've always wanted to get, but you couldn't because things were just too good where they were. They might be willing to make the change now. So you can be a little aggressive that side, and also moving forward on advertising. You mentioned that advertising dollars are cheaper now by 50-70% than they were not long ago, and so running advertising and marketing programs inside of your competition's market is a great way, because a lot of them will be pulling back because they haven't planned.
Sure.
But to the extent that's possible, market into their markets.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, how can we come out of this stronger and
Yep.
better versus crippling us and making us die? So hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or comments, please let us know. We're happy to help, and we're here for you all. So we're all in this together.
We are.
We'll see you guys soon.
Good luck, everybody.